Hi guys, Alicia with Working Dog Radio, Torchlight K9, and Oil Capital K9 Fund. Thank you guys for tuning in to another awesome episode. Please check us out on YouTube. It's a new format for us. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. We're going to start doing some training videos and some other cool stuff on there. So we would really appreciate your follow on there. We'd like to take a second to thank our amazing sponsors. Without them, none of this would be possible. So guys, please check out Kinetic Dog Food, 513-615-6904. They are amazing. American Aluminum Accessories. They make all things canine insert. They've got some new heat alarms. Please check them out. Give them a call at 800-277-0869. Horizon Structures, everything mild to wild in a dog kennel. They have it. They will drop it off at your door. Give them a call at 888-447-4337. If you guys haven't checked out Highland Canine Training yet, what are you waiting for? Jason and Aaron are amazing. They've got all kinds of courses, classes, and schools going on. Please check out Highland Canine Training at Tactical Police, the letter K, the number 9, training.com. Ray Allen Manufacturing, right there in Colorado. Everything is sewn there. They are amazing. They do so many collaborations with so many of the actual working canine guys in our industry, including me. Give them a shout. Check them out at rayallen.com and use the discount code WDR10RAY for 10%, all things Ray Allen. Dogtra.com. If you have an e-collar, if you use an e-collar, if you have a working dog or a pet dog, check out Dogtra. They've got all of the products that you need. You can go to dogtra.com and use discount code WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. Enjoy the episode. We'll be back. Thanks.
All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. As always, from Canton, Ohio. I'm actually in the fun house right now. It's become my new recording studio, man. It's worked out pretty well. My name is Eric Stambro. With me, as always, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and his house is Ted Summers. Ted, what's going on, buddy?
It's still hot.
Yeah.
We had
Here too, yeah.
We had one day of like where I had to get my hoodie out. I was like, oh, yeah, it's time, right? The hummingbirds are on my porch fighting over food, putting a hoodie on. I wore it for about 20 minutes and I was like, this is not happening.
No.
So, and it's supposed to be over 100 this weekend. So and I've got a 13 handler school going right now. I don't have an idiot in this class. So the probability can be pretty high sometimes, but I got 13 dudes that are pretty squared away. Nice. And have already been pretty productive as cops before without a dog. So, like giving a lazy dude a dog doesn't make them a better interdiction agent or whatever else. Like these guys are already pretty productive, which is kind of nice. So, we get them to do some fun stuff. I got a guy that's got, I got 2 dudes from Texas, 1 from Kansas, and then the rest of them are from Oklahoma. Yeah, that's right. The rest of them are from Oklahoma. But we're gearing up for that, and I'm already filling my last class of the year, which will be mid-November through mid-December. That'll be the last one for the year. I've got some stuff between now and then. I've got a couple of HRDs. I'm going to Bulgaria for the program that Alicia and I are working on in November and before that class starts. So other than that, today is the 50% way on the class. And what are you up to? I see you're back in K9.
Yeah. Listen, I wasn't leaving K9. I just got out of the sale of dogs. I'm still sticking with that. I've talked about maybe getting some social dogs, keeping my facility. Maybe. I don't know. But I have 3 dogs in the class right now. I hadn't done a handler school. Dude, I was rocking them out like 3 or 4 a year. I haven't done one since last year. Had to knock the rust off a little bit. Got 3 dogs, all 3 from Scott Clark down in High Drive. Nice dogs. A couple of Mal mixes and a Shepherd. And it's funny to watch the Mal mixes. Typically in some things, the Malinois is super prevalent. We have one dog in the class. He's,
I know exactly what you mean because I've got one like that right now.
It's funny watching him do bite work. He's got the Shepherd math, like they're chasing down, coming up for the hit or whatever, and you can see him doing a quick little calculus to see when to jump and all that instead of just smashing through. I'm like, I hope we can bring out that. But in the detection work, he's full speed. Like, and one thing we talked about with the vendors is please stop teaching the dogs to dig at drawers and boxes and pull and rip out toys. Cool, man. I don't need to see that. Just hide the ball and let us see that, because the two Mals, so they're young. They're like 14 months and 16 months, and they're actually super immature, but they're just digging at these boxes and crushing. And I was able, I did some fancy tricks and I got it all settled up. But the shepherd, like, he's 2 years old, so he's like killing it. This son of a bitch, we went to off of the boxes to the hides. He started scratching at the hides. I'm like, what are you doing?
Annoying.
So yeah, so we can even talk about this some other time too. But we've mentioned before, I stopped doing a trained final response a couple years ago. I do natural, whatever the dog's natural response is. Usually it's kind of a hunch or a lock up and a point. I only do the trained final response on a dog who just can't close the loop mentally or scratching at the box all the time.
Yeah, you got to give them the power too, something to do.
Yeah, so we started today putting the sit on him, and he'll be just fine. But yeah, it's a good class. Two of the guys are retreads, meaning their second dog, and Garber's one of them, and Steve.
I saw him in there, and I know that Simon's about close to retirement, but so it's his second dog.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so
I don't know if he was helping you pre-train him for something else or
nope. He's in here with his dog, and there's a new guy at the agency where I still have a commission at. He's got the shepherd. He's doing pretty good, new guy stuff. But it's funny, if you came through my class before and you come through now, you'll be surprised. There's very little yelling. I get frustrated a little bit here and there, but I always take a breath and remember. And I got to tell you, I'm not going to bullshit. I give all that to two things, but one of those is taking TRT, man. When I started taking TRT, I calm down. I don't yell at guys. People are like, when is he going to yell? I'm like, nah, man, cool. I'll get a little frustrated if I say once again or something like that. You should probably pay attention. Like you
just do what I do. I just make fun of people until they do it right.
Well, I do that too. Yes.
Shame them. I'm like, that's a neat. One of the line that I said all week is dudes will do something. I was like, that was neat. You going to do it right? They're like,
yeah.
Okay.
I'll put it. I told the one kid, I said, I'm going to put an e-collar on you. And every time you touch that leash with both hands during detection, I'm going to punish you. But I didn't have to. That was enough. Little threat of punishment has more value than the punishment itself. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you see I have my headphones off of one of my ears because I've been fighting cauliflower ear from jiu-jitsu. I got it. I don't even really know where I got it. I went to this gym in Long Island and was rolling with a guy, and he put all the weight of his entire body on his shoulder right into my ear for about 30 seconds. So I'm pretty sure that's probably where it came from. But dude, it got like last week, it got huge. It looked like I had a bouncy ball in my ear. It was so big. I let it go long enough that it kind of stretched the skin out a little bit. So I was jamming sewing needles into it and squeezing it like a Neanderthal, but I could never get the needle in far enough because it really hurts. And so I went to a stat care, and supposedly they won't do it. I went there, and the lady's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So she jammed a big needle, one with the holes in it, hollow needle, drained it out. Well, it filled before I even left that office. It was filled back up. So they're telling me you got to cut it. You got to go to a surgeon, have them cut it, and they put a drain in. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Go to your vet.
My wife's like, do something because I'm not staying with a guy with cauliflower ear, being facetious. But, so Saturday, I went to my doctor Friday. They refused. They wouldn't do anything with it. They sent me to a plastic surgeon, which I'm like, I can't wait. Saturday, dude, it was so big. And of course, I'm not stopped going to jiu-jitsu. I'm wearing headgear now, but no, I'm a moron. So
of course not. I'm recalling the wakeboarding where you had to wear a helmet for trying to do flips, and you're like, I'm not going to stop. I'll just put a helmet on. I'm like,
I just got knocked out 2 more times after that.
That's a good idea. Good job.
So I went home and I got my TRT needle out, dude. I put that thing in there, drained out 4 syringe full blood was coming out. I'm like, finally. And it shrunk it right back down to normal. It filled back up. 4 more that night, 3 more the next day, 2 more, 1 more. Yesterday was a half. So it's getting there, but it's all bruised up and beat up. And
so if you're listening to this and you suffer from cauliflower ear, hit Eric in the DMs and send him your potion and whatever.
Well, dude, a whole bunch of guys, that follow us online and everything are go to jiu-jitsu, and they're all messaging me. They're like black belts and brown belts and purple belts. And they're like, yeah, man up and get a needle from Tractor Supply. So I had done that. Those are too big. Nope, no thanks. I'll just stick with my little steroid needle and do that. But
Tractor Supply. Just go to QT and get a big straw.
Right. Just jam it in there. So anyways, what do we got going on today?
Well, we have a repeat guest with a new guest as well. So I don't remember how long ago it was, but we have on Rick Hogg from WarHogg Tactical and Drew Kellerman from Heritage Distilleries. And we're talking about dogs and whiskey, which I think is what we're going to call this episode. We'll find something funny to call this episode. This should be fairly interesting. So with that, Rick, what have you been up to since we talked to you last? I think it's been a couple of years, if I remember correctly.
So did we talk? I can't remember.
Maybe even
COVID. So was Duke still? I still had Duke then, correct? Or Duke already passed? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was close, man.
It was close. It was like,
look.
So, man, it was right around. Yeah,
it might have been right. I'll look it up, but dude, it might have been right before.
Yeah, because I lost Duke July 5th, 2021, and that was to osteosarcoma. And really, with that, what ended up happening was out of that devastating loss, because in essence, when you lose him, you lose part of your soul. We started up the In-Honor Duco Project. And really our main mission there is to never let another SOF K9 handler make a medical decision about their partner. So in my case, when Duke was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, it's like, hey, vets go, hey, $10,000 right rear leg amputation, 4 rounds chemotherapy, plus all the thousands of dollars just to get to the point where, diagnosed, he's got osteosarcoma. What happens to a guy who doesn't have that money and he takes the $150 option versus, the $10,000 option to save his dog or add longevity, right? So with the right rear leg amputation, I gained 7 more months with Duke. Super grateful for. Dog saved my life. It's like, hey man, whatever it took to help him, but finally got to that point where the cancer came back with a vengeance, man. That stuff was just ravaging his body and he was breaking down. So we had to make that terrible decision. July 5th was the day. So I want to give him one more Independence Day. So with that, on top of WarHogg Tactical on the Range podcast, Project Officer Survival, we've decided, okay, cool. We're going to start up the In-Honor Duco Project where we're going to help specifically SOF canines. And that's what we're doing. And unfortunately today, one of our recipients, multi-purpose canine, Duke, shocking, I got Duco and then Duke today. Duke passed away today. But again, we were taking care of him medically. And that's really the whole thing on top of everything else we're doing is how do we take care of these dogs? So I was fortunate enough to get partnered with a 501c3, all volunteer. So Scott's Wish, there's no monies collected there for any type of salaries or anything like that. We're all volunteers. So they support the In-Honor Duco Project. And that's one of the many things that we're into is taking care of these dogs.
And it's an interesting thing because guys from your side of the military aren't really active on social media very much. I mean, there are some guys that are, but by and large, a lot of those dudes are not. And a really good friend of mine, Trent, he handled Leica and Benno, and he had a problem with Leica. She was one of our recipients after. Yeah. And so, you guys and the Switzers helped Trent out a lot with Leica. I mean, he was flying her to the University of Tennessee when she had her ankle on her good leg. Well, the only one she had left on the front, her ankle got hurt and whatever else. So, and, Trent doesn't, he's a dog trainer. He's not making enough to pay for a $40,000, whatever. I don't know what it was, something ridiculous. He showed me the bill. I was like, holy cow, dude.
Well, we took Leica's story a step further, and actually we had Lena make a statue to put down at 175 for him. So down in their Memorial Court, they've got a statue of her down there. So but really, you talk about the social thing. I opted to do one better, right? number one, I can't stand socialists, too manipulated. How do you get the word out? We went right to Special Forces Command and let them know, hey, man, get the word out to the groups, get the word down to the kennels, spread it out there. Let your retired guys know you've got a source. If these dogs need medical care, reach out to us. And that's the key thing. So go straight to the command, let them disseminate it. That to me is the best way. And then, hey, reach out to us and let us know what's going on. And, we just kind of take care of it from there.
Yeah, because one of our other guests, we had Josh on from Fifth Group. He was the kid that was on the esports team too, but handled Timo the Bork, Fifth Group. But he's out and he's going to veterinary school now at the University of Arizona. Timo is in good health though, but I mean, eventually he won't be. But he was an NPC with Fifth Group. Fifth or seventh, I don't know.
If he's a Campbell,
like, no, bro.
If he's a Campbell, he's with just don't even call it Fifth Group, call it the Legion. He'll respect you for it.
No. Damn it. So the other guest tonight, we have from Heritage Distillery, Drew Kellerman. So tell us a little bit about your background, Drew. And so you're up in the Pacific Northwest. Like normally when we think of whiskey, we think of where? Like
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So give us a little bit of background on you and then on the distillery and how it is in Washington versus Tennessee and Kentucky and bourbon. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I appreciate that clarification because that is something everyone goes, huh? How are you guys doing whiskey up there? Appreciate you guys having me on. So I'm Drew Kellerman. I go back to just after Desert Storm, came in the military, served with the infantry, 27th Infantry Wolfhounds, did that for 4 years, got out before 9/11, was not a part of the GWAT. My wife and I both were served at that time. She was a Black Hawk pilot and commanded, was part of the Assault Battalion unit. And we were both at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. So we had a chance to serve. It was great. We both got out, started a family, fast forwarded a number of years, and we ended up in the Pacific Northwest where we are now in Gig Harbor. And we teamed up with a couple that we became good friends with. And this is about 12, 13 years ago. And they basically said, hey, there's an opportunity to take advantage of the recent changes in Washington State that allows for craft distilling. So craft distilleries were not a thing at all. Go back a number of years ago. And so to your point, if whiskey came from Kentucky or Tennessee or, Ireland or Scotland, but the law has changed, allowing for craft distilling to happen. So we basically made a decision to just get this business going. We raised some money. We got things going. Called it Heritage Distilling Company. Every spirit has a story. We started making some whiskey as well as a few other products. It takes a while to make whiskey, right? You got to age it. So it isn't the first thing that you produce when you first start out. But after a couple of years, we got our recipes down great. We had a great team of people, and we started putting out some pretty good whiskey. And lo and behold, 2014, Sergeant Major Scott Olson from 1st Special Forces Group. So where we live in Gig Harbor, this little town is about the shadow. It's 30 minutes away from what I'll say is called Fort Lewis, which is the home of 1st Special Forces Group. So Scott Olson walks in our office and says, hey, I really like your guys' whiskey. You guys are doing good stuff, and I want to do a whiskey to raise money for the local nonprofits that support our group and do scholarships for the kids and so on and so forth. And we thought that was just the best idea ever. So we started producing first group whiskey as a fundraiser and we raised about $150,000 for their organizations over the next 7 years or so. And this is just a small local release. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We kept growing, we're 5 tasting rooms across Washington, Oregon, got a couple production facilities. We started winning a bunch of awards. I think we're 10 times in a row most awarded craft distillery in North America by the American Distilling Institute. It's like 3,000 distilleries now. So believe it or not, there's distilleries all over the country, and they're all able to make whiskey, gin, vodka, and all that kind of stuff. So we got some credibility, which was good, and we grew big enough. And I was joking with Rick about this, but we started getting hit up by a lot of other people in the special operations community. It was like, it's pretty cool you guys are helping out First Group, but what about the rest of us? There's more than just First Group.
There's 20 other ones, right, bro? So
exactly, not just the groups, but the Rangers and, everybody, right? And SEALs coming after us and so forth. So we were really excited to, it's kind of a veteran co-founded, very patriotic company, like, hey, you know what? Let's figure this out. Let's come up with a way to do this. So we came up with a new project last year called the Salute Series. We started off with Special Operations Salute, where we would honor and create a really high-end whiskey that would be a fundraiser that would honor and celebrate and raise awareness about Army Special Operations. Right? So the 6 tribes within RSOF. Really cool bottle, really cool tube. Looks something like this. If anybody's on the video, I don't know if you guys can see that. But anyway, yeah, so the tube and a lithograph print to go along with it from a very talented artist and veteran, Michael Solove, called Send Me, sort of celebrating the 60-year history of RSOF. So we came out, we launched this thing last November. The whole goal, though, is to bring a very high-end whiskey to honor, celebrate, but more importantly, raise money for the nonprofit organizations that directly support the warriors, veterans, and the families of Army Special Operations. Right, so that kicked off. What the goal was to then follow with Naval Special Warfare, MARSOC, and do that down that path. We quickly learned that some of the services protect with trademarks a lot of their words and their images more than others. So we had to pivot a little bit. We did a commemoration whiskey set for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. That rolled out in June. That was a really big deal to take advantage. My uncle jumped in with the 101st Airborne with D-Day, and so we had kind of a family connection there. And so then we had a chance to meet up with Rick. We became friends, and the idea was, hey, if you really want to be celebrating and honoring different communities within the military, and so forth, think about the war dogs. Think about the military working dogs. We thought, that's actually a really kick butt idea. And so we got Michael Solove. Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah, everybody loves dogs.
Oh man, I mean, we're like this. Well, and I don't come from that community, right? I've never been a handler, never served with it. I mean, you got pet dogs, right? And there's a lot of us would love dogs, but don't know a thing about really the world you guys live in, which is just, as I'm learning, is just flipping awesome. So Rick turned me on to a bunch of educational material, videos they'd made, and so forth, that really showed what the history of U.S. military working dogs is, and especially going back to World War II and Korea, Vietnam, the GWAT, and how dogs have played just a staggering role as combat multipliers, across the forces, and especially as the GWAT, evolved and so forth, the role in SOF. And I read a stat today, right, Rick, that I guess I had forgotten about, that something like the estimate is like 400,000 lives have been saved since, from war dogs, kind of since they started tracking this sort of thing. I know it was like at least 10,000 service members saved by war dogs in Vietnam, right? And so we just were blown away and staggered by this community of warriors and veterans that just don't have a whole lot of acknowledgement or aren't saluted much by the civilian community, by everybody else. Nobody really knows. So we said, well, this is perfect. Let's dive on this. Let's create the War Dogs edition, Service to America Salute, and it'll be a fundraising whiskey, for the 2- and 4-legged warrior and veteran supporting nonprofit organizations. The Duco Project being one of them. So we got our artist Michael Solove to do a SketchUp of a German Shepherd in a soft combat tactical vest with his kind of injured, with his front foreleg kind of wounded. I don't know if you guys can see it specifically on there.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
So, kind of in the attention position. His name's Allegiance, showing allegiance to his handler, allegiance to, protecting the nation, his willingness to give up his life. And then really with the flag in the background to kind of remind us as Americans, let's remember what we're allegiant to, first and foremost. We've been very grateful that this project seems to be bringing a lot of people together in support of the war dogs and support of the military, and enjoy some really good bourbon, and kind of get past some of our differences, which has been great. So we 10% of gross profits, which is a big chunk of each bottle sold, goes to organizations. We do huge amounts of whiskey donations. We're told that it's a combat multiplier fundraiser, so to speak, in the sense that the guys will. I mean, a good bottle, especially signed by an operator or somebody important can generate 5 or 7 or 10x the value at auction or so forth. So we've been donating a ton of this stuff and just getting the word out that, hey, we've got a really cool project here, and I'll tell you guys definitely about the whiskey if you want to hear more about that too. But that's that's the quick story.
We definitely want to hear about it, and I'm going to interject this because I know that the handlers that were from the JSOC and SOCOM side and canine handlers in the military or in law enforcement know what I'm about to say, but the general public doesn't realize that when those dogs leave the military and they leave service, the department does not pay for their health care.
Pays for nothing.
And most people are like, oh my God, they're shocked.
Here's your
they're
leash.
like, oh my God, they're shocked. I actually had a woman ask me, she's like, what about the VA? And I was like, the VA doesn't even take care of the humans. Like they're not going to take care, or not in a timely fashion anyway. And I was like, they're not going to fucking take care of the dogs. So there's not a VA for dogs. There's not a VA. And they're like, that's terrible. What do they do? And I'm like, it's out of pocket,
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was shocked. She was like, oh my God, that is terrible. So most of the time when you tell them, they're like, well, how can we help? And you're like, oh, well, at this point now we can go buy some whiskey. Which is an odd response, but I mean, you
can do that. You don't
have to drink
you
it.
got the, you can go to scotchwish.org. I mean, a bunch of places you can go donate, right? But I want to hit one thing that Drew kind of touched on and missed a little bit, right? So we talked about signatures on bottles can get, I think you said 5 to 7x.
Oh yeah. I mentioned
this
that,
bottle
yeah.
here is a 10x, or excuse me, I'm going to go 100x. And here's why. You see that paw print on there? That is actual Duco's paw print on there. So each time you're getting a bottle of the WarHogg whiskey, you've got that physical touch point with Duco. If you go, hey, who's Duco? You want to know more about him? Just go to warhogg.com, right? We got more stuff about him. Listen to the past episode, Working Dog Radio. We talk about him, but that's how much these guys went into the weeds as far as taking this project on. Yeah, they could have just done, there's the sketch, good to go. Nope. We want to put the actual WarHogg print on there and, honored enough to get Duke on there. So that just helps keep his memory alive. So Drew, I've told you this 1,000 times. Hey, from me to you, from Duke, hey, couldn't thank you enough. And oh, by the way, if you're looking, there's a picture of that good old mug right there, there's his assault vest right there. So, but no, appreciate it. But that was, that to me was kind of shows how much these guys are putting forward and really want to make sure that they're keeping the brand clean. Hey man, we need a WarHogg print on there. It's like, I just so happen to know one, got one. There you go.
Yeah. Got one ready for you. I want to go back a little bit real quick. I have a funny story. You mentioned Desert Storm. So when Desert Storm kicked off, I was living in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I was DJing at the Crazy Horse Strip Club. And
that's when he owned a monkey, by the way, too.
Yeah,
he
had a monkey back then too.
Yeah.
So I walked into the strip club to work my shift. It was the day of the initial invasion. And the owner had this huge, giant screen TV, which was not really a thing back then so much. It was a giant console TV. We're talking, long time ago. And there's like 5 strippers standing around the TVs crying. And it reminds me of like when Tony Soprano's at the strip club and his mom's sick on the phone and they all acting like they care. But it was so surreal to me. I'm like, there's 5 strippers crying because we're invading.
You've heard that song from Bloodhound Gang, right? Like, a slap dance is so much better when the stripper's crying.
No.
It's a song.
I always remember that. So real quick, Drew, let's go back to when you guys kicked off. Did you have to was there a whiskey culture there? Did you guys have to teach people this stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's no. I mean, to this day, everyone says, how is it possible you're making a 5-year bourbon when you're not in Bourbon County, Kentucky, right?
It's exactly what you told me before we started recording. You were like, I'm in Washington. I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly. How's that possible? Well, so, there's actually 42 federally recognized categories of whiskey in the U.S. It's ultra complicated and just kind of archaic and obscene, quite frankly. But the bottom line is, unless you're in Bourbon County or you're in Kentucky, you cannot make Kentucky bourbon, right? So if it's Kentucky bourbon on the bottle, it was made in Kentucky. If it's Tennessee whiskey, it was made in Tennessee.
And it's the same thing with like tequila and champagne. If it's from Italy, it's Prosecco. And if it's from wherever, it's like sparkling wine or whatever. But
Exactly.
if it's from France, it's champagne, especially from the Champagne region of France, it's champagne.
Exactly.
So even
Now,
if it's the same grapes, it doesn't matter.
Bourbon can be made anywhere in the U.S. as long as it's the mash bill has 51% or more corn. And it comes off the still below 160 proof, and it goes into a new American oak barrel for at least a period of time. So that's kind of all that needs to happen. So in Washington State or Oregon or any state you can think of, it's very legal and possible to make bourbon. It just doesn't have quite the historical, gravitas of a Kentucky bourbon.
What's that old dude that was on that reality TV show? Popcorn. It's not Popcorn making it, right? It's not. Popcorn's a bad dude, right? Like what was that like? It was on. I don't know. I remember watching it. Obviously, I can't. Yeah, that one perfectly. Yeah, Popcorn's a bad dude, right? He looked like Steve Buscemi's eyes. He looked like a gecko both directions. I'm like, how can you see, bro? Like, and this is why he's sitting out there with a copper still in the middle of Georgia. I think it was in Georgia, right? It's got to be in Georgia. That's a thing there. They still arrest people in Georgia for like moonshining, which is crazy to me. Mm-hmm. But
revenues,
the
revenues coming.
Yeah, the backwoods.
So I want to go back to something too that Rick was talking about. So I looked it up, dude. You were on in 2019. Wow. So like our first, we started in 18. Okay. It was 19. So then it was a little bit before the amputation. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, we had the COVID time warp between there. So the COVID time warp messed everything up.
It was actually in November of 20 that he got the leg amputated. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he, what folks don't know is, so you're there with him at home, and you have to get this, cause cancer is aggressive in people, but in dogs, it's wild. And you get that leg amputated, and that's like what, 6,000 about $6,000, $10,000 to get the leg amputated. That's out of pocket, guys. That's not, and I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I don't care what Special Forces Operations group you were in, you're not wealthy from your job, your career.
Not from your job in the military.
You know what I mean? No. So guys come out and, if they even got to the pension, the military pension is not that you can just flop out 10K like nothing. This is like police work, but back here in Ohio, when I retired, my top 3 years were $64,000. So my pension, as you can imagine, is a sliver of that. So for me too, if my dog needed that amputation, I'm in deep trouble there. Like this, and so having the ability to help guys get this stuff done, and the things that these dogs have done during their time, most of which you don't even know, like you haven't even heard about. We've all heard of a few dogs, but nothing compared. Like there's that Special Operations memorial for dogs that are killed has grown and grown and grown. And one of the dogs that I had when I was working the SEAL contract for Cobra K9, Tyson, I trained him up for his first deployment, and then he ended up doing, I think, 5 more. And his first operation on his last deployment, ate a RPG. Mm-hmm. So he's on there. So that stuff is going. So the things that guys or that people think they know, they don't even know. And so it's how important these dogs are, where you're going to do the 10K.
Well, and a lot of them, especially on the NPC side, a lot of those dogs may, like Lake is a perfect example because she ate around 2 or 3, and her front leg was amputated. And the doctors at Ramstein did a fantastic job getting her, and they were not veterinarians.
Nor should
they. If you listen to the story,
right? So Ted, I gotta jump in on this, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Yeah. I didn't want, and this is, we're talking battlefield side, right? I didn't want a shady vet to look at Duke or any of the dogs I handled overseas. I want that trauma surgeon that, dude, he's got experience on human beings. Because at the end of the day, anatomy physiology is anatomy physiology. The only thing really different, you need a couple extra things for the dog, and just understand he's a little furrier. So I just had to add that in there. But no,
ABC still works in dogs too. So like in Trent's case,
they would have never seen it's surgeons all the way. It's human surgeons, not vets. So just so we're clear on that one.
Right. So, when they saved Leica, right? And obviously she lost her leg, so she retired. And so they covered everything. So a lot of these dogs that come out of the NPC programs and the, all of the alphabet soup boys, those dogs end up having some probably lifetime health issues, whether it's even related to pain. Like I know Leica was sponsored by Rimadyl.
Yeah.
Which is perfect because she needed it. She's sponsored by Doggy Tylenol, basically. So Trent was giving her Rimadyl, twice a day, or I don't know. I talked to him and texted him the other day. He actually had shoulder replacement surgery recently, but I told him, I said, it's bad on their liver, but I mean, she's been shot and missing a leg. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen to her? So, but that's not covered. So you get these dogs and they're like, cool, we'll get them like patched up and saved. And then they're alive. And then now we retire them. And it's like, now it's on you, bro. And a lot of times you're dealing with chronic issues, did Duco have any chronic issues?
He did,
I don't remember.
Because remember, I in essence had to quasi medically retire him, right? Because we were out just doing a training exercise one day, and all he had to do was jump in the back of a little Ford Ranger to get the decoy. And it's like he was running up there.
I remember this
and
just
kind of like locked up and froze, right? And it wasn't like he wasn't going to get him. He's a proven dog. It's like like his legs couldn't fire. And that's kind of the point where it's like, hey, but to your point on the Rimadyl side, right? Like we partnered with Kindred Life there. You can see the WarHogg CBD because again, it's all organic. We wanted to sit there and go, how do we give a pain-free, or not a pain-free, but a pain management tool to guys and not pump them full of Rimadyl, right? And oh, by the way, with the Kindred Life WarHogg series, it's organic, right? So we're trying to give them the best stuff. And, unfortunately, I was not able to make that happen while Duke was, because we made that relationship post Duco passing. But dude, he was on CBD beforehand. I recommend to all guys, right? Get him on a CBD regimen versus the Rimadyl. That's just me. So pain management, dude, they come out with pain. And God knows what cancer they're going to get, right? And I hate to say it. That seems to be the going thing. So Conan, who was one of our other recipients as well, Conan, we lost him. But again, it was all mouth cancer, right? So you got a common theme with cancer in these guys because God knows what they're exposed to, right? We know all the crap we're exposed to. They're even exposed to more.
Well, and then there's the genetic component too. Like we've done, generations of selective breeding, and it doesn't pop up until years later. And so exactly. And, at the moment that a dog, I've got several friends that are law enforcement canine handlers in this country that the dogs get cancer and they retire the dog immediately and they push it off onto the handler. They're like, all right, we'll retire the dog. Like he's and I get it and I've said this 100 times on this show, but agencies in this country don't view dogs as dogs. Same thing with police horses. They view them as assets, right? They have depreciated assets. That's why when we sell police dogs, like Eric and I sell police dogs to police departments, we expect them to work anywhere from 5 to 8 years ish. It's kind of the average. And outside of that, like they kind of, they're the comptrollers and the people in finance and the bursars kind of expect that depreciated asset is going to be about a 5, like this class that I have right now. 10 of the departments have said that they're depreciating it over 5 to 6 years, depending on the department. That's what they're expecting out of the investment. And so if a dog hits that investment period and he gets cancer, they're like, all right, like retire him and it's your problem. And it's like, okay, now what? Like, I mean, we're not replacing a transmission on a Ford Explorer that like somebody like it's still a living animal. But so on one hand, I get it.
But with that said, right? Yeah. The transmission doesn't have a title. When you look at these officers, exactly. When you look at the canine officers specifically, right? That's what they are. Canine officer, fill in the blank, right? Yeah. So they give them the title of a law enforcement officer. Oh, by the way, they've got laws in some states that if you're killing a police dog, I say most, right? Not all. But hey, if you're killing a police dog, it's like killing a police officer, right? So on one side, we will very heavily weigh, their part of the department. Yet when it comes to the dollars and cents, man, it always boils down to that. Oh, no, you go take, Spot and go deal with whatever problem he's got. Dude, wrong, right? Here's the thing. If there's an officer out there in that case, dude, reach out, right? I got it. Our mission statements for SOF canines. But here's the thing. If we've got funds available, I'm not going to turn you away, right? No way. Nor should they have to bear that burden.
And I still think the last kick in the teeth is that $1 they make you pay for the dog on the way out. I'm like, that special assessment fee. Like, who was it? John Gotti said they charged him a $50 special assessment fee when he got life in prison because they really know how to jam it to a guy.
Crazy.
So we're going to go ahead and take our first break. We come back. We're going to talk to Rick a little bit about Duco. I'd like to ask a couple questions about the early days, and then we're going to talk to Drew about whiskey. So stick around, guys. There's some great commercials and great sponsors in there. If you skip through the commercials, everything is in the show notes, the discount codes and everything. We had to change Ray Allen discount code again because you guys are wearing it out, which is awesome. They're not complaining.
Matt loves it. Don't let him lie to you. Don't let him lie to you. Matt loves it.
Yep. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's me again, back with some more awesome sponsors. I want to talk a little bit about Ray Allen K9 Manufacturing. Who else in our industry allows us to come to them with ideas as handlers, as dog professionals, and say, you know what, I think I would like to make this, or wouldn't this be a good idea? And they will actually sit down with you and talk to you about your designs. I've got a collab with them on a muzzle, on a leash and a collar. They're amazing to work with. Their products are top notch. They're made in America, in Colorado, and we love Matt. So give them a holler. Check them out on socials at Ray Allen, the letter K, the number 9, or visit them online at rayallen.com and use our discount code WDR10 RAY for 10% off. Guys, have you visited Dogtra lately? If you go to Dogtra, they have their new online portal, and it's really cool, very user-friendly. You don't have to call them and order them anymore. You can go to mydogtra.com, and they have everything there. You can set up an online profile. They keep your orders. They know what you've used. We use everything, their ball droppers and poppers. We use their e-collars, their 1900S hands-free for our officers, their Q and their 280 for our pet clients. We use all of their products all the time. Eric travels around and does seminars specific to Dogtra, so you can have him come in and teach a class on how to use it. Check them out, dogtra.com, and follow them on their socials. We love kinetic dog food. Ted has been using the large format. It makes excellent tracking treats. He uses it for teaching article indication. It's these huge nuggets of food that you can lay down, grab, put in your trainer's pouch. The quality is excellent. We love Debbie and Dave. We have a great relationship with them. They want to know you. They will talk to you about nutrition, about what your dog's needs are. They'll help get you set up. Their food is available everywhere. We've gotten it off of Chewy. You can buy it at stores. Please check them out. kineticdogfood.com. Your dog needs these nutrients, and they are really specific to our industry's needs. They have a full line of supplements now. Please check them out. We'll have some soon that we can give away. Go check them out. Follow them on their socials at Kinetic Dog Food. They'll really appreciate that.
All right, guys, everybody, we are back, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite, myself and Ted Summers, with a double guest, Rick Hogg from WarHogg Tactical, and our friend Drew Kellerman from out there at Heritage Distilleries in the Pacific Northwest. So Rick, I was going to ask you some stuff. I can't remember from the first thing. Were you on the buy trip when you guys got Duco? So when you get to the kennel and you're getting into the whole program, what was it about him that you were like, yeah, that's it?
Here's the thing. Nothing. Duco was because here's the thing. Duco was our spare. I already had a primary when Duco came in. I already had a primary, and that was Marco. So Marco was he was a Mally, and long story short, he had some med stuff pop up. Shocking, right back to the med thing. But him being active duty, of course, they handle that. Unfortunately, we had to put him down. And who's the spare freaking this Dutchy Duco. I don't want a Dutchy. Dude, I'm going around going, I will take any other Mally in this kennel. I don't want that Dutchy, right? Because of all just Dutchies have this stigma about them. But let me tell you this. Duke didn't come without his issues, right? But he was in my opinion, all the dogs I worked in that kennel, he was the gold standard, right? If I had a clone machine for that dog, I would be a freaking gazillionaire. That's how good he was, right? Now granted, we had to work out some issues. He was obviously, being a Dutch Shepherd, he was truly Dutch, came from Holland. So those guys over there he would take very little E, but man, they had to double leash him over there because he had some leash biting issues that we had to work through. But we got through it. We did change some commands from Dutch to German, just try to clean the slate with him. And dude, he came around that dog wrecking house, right? So he was not my primary initially when I got to the kennel. He was not, he was nowhere on my thought process. And like I said, I didn't want him, but man, he turned out, I could not have scored better with that dog. You want to talk about, getting the prize. That Duco was it, man. Super, super social. They'd be sitting there 1 second, paws all crossed. Yep. Whatever. And man, when it was time to bring the bite, dude, that dog would crush a man. I mean, we're talking femur snapping. Now, granted, they're calcium deficient, right? So you got to kind of give a little to get a little, but I'm going to take it. Right. When you hear some femur snapping, screaming going on, you're like, bring it, buddy. Love it, But no, he was an absolute beast.
When did you find, like during the training, the workup, where you two turned a corner? Was there like an issue that was holding you up a little bit and you got like, whoa, man, shit, that went really well?
Really the corner. So flash to bang, truth be told, I got Duke in May. I was out the door in July. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
So, yep.
That's fast.
But, hey, dude, he showed everything he needed to. And dude, he just solidified, he goes from kind of that unknown, right? Because we've all kind of had dogs in that bubble. I think he'll work. Yeah, we still got some things to prove out. And then sometimes you got some dogs that unfortunately fail you out there, at that moment of need. Duke didn't do it, man. As soon as we started working overseas, bam, that dog, I'm like, man, I got me the gold mine here, That dog would, again, they don't truly understand danger, but he's going, man. He's going to sit there and protect that pack. He's going to be out in front. He's out there hunting. Loved it, man. And in return, he got paid well, man. If we had a good night, of course, again, we worked nights, so we're getting that good breakfast in the morning, some eggs and bacon. Hey, man, no need for that nasty chow. You're getting the good reward here, even though you might have ingested a little something extra. But no, but it was, we knew we had some dramas over, prior to. I wasn't super concerned with him going overseas, and then he just ended up, proving things there. So we did have to do some work when we came back, especially because I wanted to clean up that whole on the bite leash issue stuff. But other than that, dude, we were good.
Yeah. Did he have anything that you just had to live with? Like, listen, this is going to be too much of a fight. This is whatever. And like his whole career that he just had something like we just work around it.
Besides him being lazy and wanting to take cheap leg shots when I wish he'd go up a little higher. Nope. I mean, he was a wrecking machine, but he was also lazy, right? Like here's a prime example. Yeah. We're out doing some water training. So we're going to do a little surface swim. We're about 200 meters off. We get dropped off from the boat. We start swimming. Duke looks back at the boat, says, hey, the boat's there. I'm going to 180. Start swimming that way. The boat says, hey, I'm out. And Duke's like, oh, I got to go catch up with Dad now, right? This sucker decides he wants to try to get on my back like he's Cleopatra and go for a free ride. I'm like, no way, buddy. I said, you got them Fantastic. 4 legs. Let's go. Right. So, he was always looking, I say he was lazy in the aspect, hey man, if Dad would carry him, he'd take a carry, right? If Dad's going to swim him, he'd take that. But dude, when it came to bringing on everything else he had to do, he was spot on, man. I had no dramas looking back going, man, I got to live with that. Nope. And dude, he was always, it's like anything else, man. You just got to put the time in training him, just cleaning up those tasks you want him to do. But dude, he was the gold standard in my opinion. And really where it showed was his transition coming from if you want to say active duty to retirement. Truth be told, my wife wasn't super happy, right? Like she kind of knew, right? Because we never fully tell them all the stories. She kind of knew, I got this biting dog here. How's he going to do with the kids? And, we had a couple of the little dogs and everything else. And Duke knew his spot on the couch, loved it, and lived the great retirement life. So, no, there was nothing with him. There was nothing with him awesome. That I had to sit there and go, yeah, I got to deal with this. No.
Yeah, my second dog, Willie, that I worked on the road, Willie was I always said he was an apex predator. I think he had 50 bites with his first handler, and I had 77 bites with him. So he got a lot of work. But that dog would always bite in the leg. Mm-hmm. He just didn't want to jump. It was, why am I jumping? Yeah. This thing's right here in front of me. Now, you put a bite suit on, he would jump, which is crazy. He would jump on the street. Whap, leg, and including me. If I called him a rodeo dog, if I got him out for like yelling, to get guys to surrender, or maybe a show of force type deal, I had 8 seconds, and after 8 seconds, whap, right on my shin. So he just, and it was kind of lazy, yeah. Like why should I jump? It's right here. You know what I mean? And then he would knock the guy down, and if the guy hit him, he would transition right onto the arm, and it was pretty nasty always. So, Drew, I'm fascinated by, I love history, right? I've read a lot of history over the years. I've always liked it. I always did well in school in history. I love Band of Brothers and all that stuff. And you talk about jumping into D-Day. How did the D-Day whiskey come about? And what did you guys do with it? I'm just fascinated. Did you get to meet guys? Because there's not many left. And how did that whole thing work out?
That's a great question. And the thing that was so cool about that is, as we were entering, heading into the beginning of 2024, we was like, hey, the 80th anniversary is coming up. And this is the last major anniversary where these guys there's going to be any of these guys left. They're all just a handful remaining, right? Because they're literally in their hundreds now, right? Mm-hmm. And so even the guys were 17 at the time. So we, because we had a family connection to with my uncle who had jumped in and so forth, we said, let's do a commemoration whiskey for this, and let's really see what we can get in terms of traction into the whole Normandy events. And so we were able to get some bottles through one of the big foundations that support special forces. They've got a organization that was sending members over there to do podcasts from the beach, and they took a bunch of these whiskeys with them. Probably the coolest story is we got a call from the aide de camp of the chief of naval operations, who said, "Hey, we just found because we came up with 3 bottles, right? Land, sea, and air, celebrating the Allied forces from land, sea, and air." And he said, this was a Navy 4-star, basically their aide, saying, "Hey, we really want we need to take a gift. We're going over to Normandy for the festivities, and we need to take some gifts to give to the counterparts at the 4-star admiral level. And we really think the best thing we can bring is this the Navy edition of your D-Day." So we actually ended up selling, because you can't gift, right? There's the gifting laws. So we ended up selling a whole bunch of bottles of the sea version to the Navy 4-star to take over there and gift, and ended up in the hands of the ambassador to France. And so it was kind of cool. We didn't get a chance to personally meet any of these guys. We didn't travel to Normandy for this, but we had all kinds of advocates. We had all kinds of retirees that were buying this and taking it with them and sending back pictures and connecting. And coolest thing was a bottle of the land version, which has the sign for St. Mary Glace, right? The town, the infamous town where the 82nd guy was hung up on the church tower, and his parachute hung up, and that was the first town that the 82nd liberated. Picture of that bottle in front of that church.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So cool. And some of the veterans there standing around it, and so it was a big hit. And that really was, again, we used it as a fundraiser, the sales of it to raise money for veterans, right? And we that stepped us out. That was our first step outside of just special operations only. So it was to raise money for vets, and we went to honor flights. One of the big organizations. Well, those guys really are focused on Korea and Vietnam now. There's nobody left from World War II. When I grew up, it was all about the World War II guys going back to D.C. So it was more of a broad centered fundraising effort, but we got huge responses from it, and so that was a good time.
So I've never been to Europe. I know you get to travel. You've traveled all over the world. Have you gotten to go to any of the World War II cemeteries that they have over there? That's got to be like I go to Arlington several times a year, and I'm always just speechless and in awe. Real quick story: I was running the Marine Corps Marathon one year, and we're running down through Arlington, and I'm running with a pacer, the 345 pace group. And I found myself reading, tombstones and different signs as I'm going. I look up and that 345 group is so far ahead of me. I was like, I got to go pay attention. But tell me, what was that like?
So here's the thing. What a lot of people don't understand with the cemeteries over in Europe, no two are the same. Probably the one that struck me as the most, well, obviously the one in Omaha, that's just powerful just from its location, right? Because it's right there overlooking, it's on the beach. And if you've never been to Normandy, Normandy's not a quick, hey, let me check it out in a day. I spent 5 days in Normandy and that still wasn't enough time. But when you go to Normandy, you understand why there's such significant loss, because basically where the cemetery sits up on the high ground, dude, these guys were just running uphill into pillboxes, just getting chewed up by MG43s, right? You go over to Utah, it's flatter. But the cemetery, obviously at Omaha, that's kind of worked up for that location. To me, the one that struck me the most was actually the one in Luxembourg, because there, the way that one there set up, that's where Patton's buried at. Patton is a lone headstone up in the front, almost like he's in front of his men. So no two are the same, right? They're all different. The rule is there has to be an American that oversees, that cemetery and takes care of it. But that to me was the part I thought was most unique, was they're all set up in different ways. I think the one in the Netherlands, if I remember right, and no, maybe it was the Ardennes. I forget which one it was, but one of them, one of the statues there, let's just say he was exposed. Somebody's wife at some ranking level was offended. And again, we were personally getting a tour from the American that ran the cemetery there, who's giving us a great, hey, in-depth, here's this guy, here's some history here. But I guess somebody got offended because the statue was exposed. So they had to go get a fig leaf or something to stick it on there. But it's just incredible when you go there, because here's the thing that people don't understand. Regardless what cemetery, whether it's the one in England, whether it's Omaha, you got ones in the Netherlands, in Italy, I mean, they're all over. There was a choice by that family back home. Do you want your loved one to remain, or do you want your loved one to come home? So you have to understand, somewhere in this process, the family said, hey man, he died there. We want to sit there and let him stay with the mates that he served with. So it's pretty powerful when you really dig into those World War II cemeteries. Very just powerful. And of course, you're going to find the ones that, hey, here lays 3 unknowns, 4 unknowns, 5 unknowns, right? We don't know who they are, but there's a bunch of unknown markers over there as well.
That's crazy. I definitely, I got to get over. I know my dad's been to Normandy, I think, but just, I'm sure he just sat there and cried, and everything, looking at it. So that's crazy. That's a great story. So we're going to go ahead and take our next commercial break. We come back, we're going to talk about the dog whiskey, so to speak, the WarHogg whiskey, and kind of, for you whiskey nerds, we'll have Drew tell us a little bit of taste stuff here. And so stick around. We will be right back.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Please check out our friends Jason and Aaron Perguson at Highland Police K9. If you guys are interested in going to school, if you've come out of the military, you can use your GI Bill to go through their school. They have a pet training school. They have a police training school. They have online courses that you guys can take, such as their K9 supervisor course. You guys can really take that as far as you want with them. They are a veritable fountain of knowledge when it comes to canine. They're located in North Carolina. They're always accessible, always available, and we've had such a long relationship with them. I cannot say enough good about them. So please check them out. If you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, go to their online programs, check them out. Use the discount code NARC for 20% off any of their online courses. Guys, that will help you. It'll help you make headway in this industry. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when we're talking about dog kennels and their construction, like, you don't know where to start. What do I do? What do I add? I need to weatherproof this, waterproof this, pee-proof this. If you guys have checked out Horizon Structures lately, it's unbelievable. They literally have everything that you could possibly need. They can build your kennel with as many holes as you want in it, and they can drive it out to you, set it on your pad, hook it up, and you can move dogs in it immediately, from mild to wild, from one kennel all the way up, from the tiniest of pet runs to the hardest of working dogs. If you can dream it, they can build it. Go ahead and check them out at horizonstructures.com. Go specifically to their working dog area. It's commercial-dog-kennels. Give them a call, 888-447-4337. And of course, check them out on their socials at Horizon Structures, and they will hook you guys up. American aluminum has been such an asset to us. Our officers have their canine inserts. They have organizational lockers for the back of your patrol vehicle. They literally have just now put out an amazing heat system and alarm that integrates with their canine insert. Guys, they do it all. Give them a call. Check them out. It is high quality. It's made here in America. If you go to Easy Rider Online, check them out, or give them an email at quotes@AAA-mail.com, or give them a phone call, 800-277-0869, and check them out. We also want to send a huge shout out. He recently passed away. Rest in peace, Brother Deeg. Thank you for our music. Thank you for the permission to use it. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you're doing well on the other side. Thank you guys for listening.
All right, everybody, we're back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Myself and Ted Summers over there in steamy Tulsa, Oklahoma, with Rick Hogg and Drew Kellerman. So, Drew, how did Rick come in your radar here? How'd you guys get hooked up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think really it came down, Rick, you reached out to us, I believe, when you saw kind of what we were doing, and offered assistance.
Yeah, so you guys were trying to promote, the special operations. There was like a PR company you guys were using, and I was like, their signature block didn't seem that legit. I was like, hey, I'm not dealing with them. Let me go straight to you guys. Somehow I got hooked up with you. Wanting to help promote the special operations. And I was like, hey, what do you think about doing something for the dogs? And that's where it started. So I'll let you take it from there. But that's the way I recollect us getting together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was a very fortuitous meeting because, we've been evaluating all the different, next editions. What do we bring out? Like, there's so many wonderful communities within the military, first responder that we want to celebrate, and we're going to do a bunch. But what do we do next? Rick basically was like, guys, what do you know about the WarHogg community? I said, not much. He said, here. And he sent a bunch of material over. He started looking it up, started seeing the history and the background and the number of lives saved by the dogs in combat, and absolutely blew our minds. So we had no idea. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, I'm a vet. It's been my job to do research on this stuff, and I had no idea. So I'm pretty sure that all the dog loving community of the country and the world has almost no idea about this unless they happen to be a part of the world that you guys, are running through. So we said, hey, this looks fantastic because we think, a big part of it is how broad is the appeal going to be, right? Like we need to go after, and so we said, hey, anybody who's a whiskey fan, anybody who wants to support the military, anybody who wants to support dogs, that's a very big group of folks, right? So we've been very fortunate because it's giving us a chance to use this whiskey to bring awareness and in an honorable, authentic way. You know, with Duco's paw print on the bottle and the story all over our website. You know, to bring some authenticity to it, to let folks know what this community is all about. Then they buy a bottle, they get some fantastic whiskey, and it's raising money for the organizations like the Duco Project.
The funny thing is, dude, if you think about it, like you picture a whiskey drinker, he's just chilling. He's got a cigar and he's got a dog.
He looks like Howard Young.
Right.
It's Howard. If you guys know Howard, yeah, it's Howard. Howard's our buddy. We love Howard, but it's Howard. So
that's a great combo. And I'm sure when Rick tells you, hey, let me send you over some stuff, you're like, holy shit, this guy's got a lot of stuff. Like he's been the guy for all that stuff for so long and compiling all this. And one of the first guys that's pioneering this help for special operations dogs. So
Eric, I want to jump in one thing. So the key part is one of the things we sent over to Drew. So we're working on a K9 documentary, basically going from, we were hoping, and speaking of World War II, we missed the mark of not being able to find a living canine handler from World War II. But basically we're capturing history from World War II to present, and we're doing a documentary. And that's really what I did. I sent Drew over a 60-minute trailer. So it's war dogs giving a voice to the voiceless. That was the key thing that kind of set a lot of hooks, because again, we're pulling excerpts from all these different handlers from different eras. Really, we've got ones from Korea on. And I think that was kind of what set the hook for these guys. And then obviously the part, hey, these guys don't get any medical care. Let's be an honest broker. 24 years ago, we were euthanizing military working dogs at the end of their service. Hey, thanks for your service. Here's the blue juice. Boom. Chuck you in the trash and off you go.
That myth persists today. Like, I mean, that myth persists today. Like, well, not myth, but people still think that happens today. I can't tell. Last night, perfect example. Last night we were out tracking with my, late at night. We were out to like 11 o'clock at night tracking last night with my class. And the former mayor of Tulsa, Susan Savage, came out, and she works at a nonprofit now because we were parking the parking lot. And that was one of the things that she asked. She's like, no, when they retire, do they get to go with their handlers? I'm like, yeah, they do. Or they like, I mean, she didn't directly ask, but it's strongly implied that that's what happens. And then I get that question all the time. People ask us that. They're like, what happens when the dog retires? Like, they go with their handler, right? It's something that always ask. And like every time my guys do a public demo, they're like, oh, so when Cujo retires, whatever the dog's name is, he's going to come home and live with me on the couch and whatever else. And people are like, oh, it's so great, whatever else, because the like you said, back in the day, like those dogs were treated like equipment. And when they had served their usage and we had amortized it out, I mean, there's no reason in continuing to throw resources at an asset that has been amortized. And
24 years ain't that long ago, man.
No, it's not. So,
and here's the crazy part, guys, right? Let's think about this. This is especially in the police world's a little unique, right? Because again, I don't think your canines have all the privileges they should have, right? Like, for example, there are some hospitals that will not treat police canines. If it were me and I worked in that jurisdiction, check it out, I'd never respond to that hospital for a call. That's just Rick, right? But here's my point. When these guys are active duty, we're going to call in medevac aircraft for them. They're going to the cache to get taken care of by a U.S. surgeon. Oh, like in Lake's case, going from wherever that battlefield injury occurred, going to Ramstein, then home, right? What's that costing? We don't bat an eye when they're active. But as soon as they sit there and Uncle Sugar goes, here's the leash, dude, you ain't getting no food, no meds, no med care. Oh, your dog's got cancer? Pff, good luck to you. That's really the criminal act. And I think the part that needs to educate is, letting the public know. And this is the part that the partnership with Drew and Heritage is getting the word out that these guys have nothing. They are U.S. service members. So like in Duke's case, yes, he was a Dutch-born shepherd, came here to let's just say the U.S. repatriated him back here, stuck the stars and stripes on him. He is a U.S. service member that, when he retired, had absolutely zero benefits from the U.S. government. And oh, by the way, men are alive today, myself included, numerous times because of that dog. And you're going to go beat it. So that's where my heart gets burnt, and just trying to spread the word to people that understand, hey man, how do we support, and just get that word out.
Yeah. Like if the dog gets killed while in active duty, they get a flag draped casket. They get everything.
It's a thing.
But it's almost like they're moving a piece of paper from one file to the other. Okay, I made that pile smaller. Now I can move on. So we talk about Howard Young. Howard is a whiskey aficionado. He's going to be like, hey, listen, us whiskey nerds, we want to know, like, what does this taste like? And I don't know anything about all this stuff with whiskey. So Drew, I'm going to go to you. Give the nerds, the whiskey aficionados a little, virtual taste.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the whiskey that we use for WarDogs, we do for all of our Salute Series whiskeys, we want it to be the best quality stuff that we can possibly make, so that it's truly representative to be used for ritual sips and ceremonial toasts. It's designed to be enjoyed straight, neat, or with ice to bring the proof down just slightly. All of our whiskeys are overproof to allow folks to bring it to the range they want it to. So what we have in WarDogs is a 5-year, or 35 in dog years. That's kind of the action. Believe it or not, the federal government let us put that on the label, which is amazing. So it says on the label.
That is amazing that they allowed you to do that.
35 in dog years, yeah. So it's a 5-year straight bourbon whiskey. So straight bourbon whiskey has a specific meaning. That means it's been aged at least 2 years in a new cask. It means it's got it's obviously bourbon, so it's going to be more than 51% corn. It's got a mash bill that gives it kind of a good balance. And the way that the tasting notes, the way to kind of think about it is really the flavors that come through. It's really a golden amber color, but the tasting notes would be like dried plum, pepper, dark berry. The pepper and dark berry is going to come from the rye component. So there's a little bit of rye in the mash bill. Roasted beech nut, and then it's just really a great complexity of grain and some fruit, spice, and wood, and that's really that the feedback that we're getting is that the nose on this is spectacular. In other words, you just pour it in the glass and just start and let it open up and just go with the nose for a while, and then it's genuinely a sipping bourbon. It's the folks back in the where bourbon was made, originally created, would tell you, hey, it's time to drink your corn. And that's kind of what this is. I mean, it's a great sipping whiskey, again, for ceremonial toast and ritual sips. One of the things we did is we proofed it at 98.6. So we did that on purpose to represent the obvious, the internal temperature of the human body. That's when it's alive, as a way to remind everybody, hey, the number of human lives that have been saved by WarDogs, in many cases giving their own lives to protect their handlers and the teams they work with. And so it's 98.6. It not a hyper overproof, but high enough that a lot of folks like it with over just a little bit of ice, let it melt just slightly and bring it down to maybe the mid to upper 90s, and it seems to sip really well right at that point. But it's got a beautiful nose. The bourbons have a real rich, kind of caramely, creamy, vanilla sort of that oakiness to it. That's with a little tiny bit of pepper on it from the rye, but it's just smooth. Yeah, it's good. I think it'd go well with both. We designed it to be a standalone, really for I've mentioned a couple of times the ritual sips and ceremonial toast, but it's very approachable. This one in particular, of all the Salute series that we've done, it's I think it can be paired with all kinds of stuff: cigar, chocolate, good steak, whatever.
On the Range podcast with WarHogg Tactical and Kelly Defense basically has its roots out of the old China virus because everything shut down, right? So how do we sit there and get the word out there? Man, when you listen to our first podcast, janky, right? Couple dudes talking on phones, don't know what's up. I think we were using one of them free apps. Anchor, yeah. Just rubbish, right? But then, like anything else, and our whole mantra to On the Range podcast, WarHogg Tactical, is be 1% better every day, right? So we make incremental changes to the show. Hey, we clean up the audio. Oh, obviously you can see we're in the podcast studio. We kind of had this before, but I don't think I had the mic. I don't think we had the lighting, even the show I did with you guys, right? So we've kind of got things cleaned up on that aspect. And really our whole point is to get the viewers, listeners out there. How do we encourage them to be 1% better every single day? In turn, we're going to talk about, since we're on the range, obviously marksmanship, tactic style stuff. But really, at the end of the day, it's all things America, man. We got great guests on, like we've had Drew on the show, super guests on the show. So whether it's me and Mark just talking, we've got 2 subsets of On the Range podcasts. So we got WarHogg Words of Wisdom, where that's Rick just going to give the viewers listening out there some type of information. And then, 30-minute Mark, where my co-host Mark Kelly, he's going to sit there and, he's kind of got his stuff that he goes on. So when it comes to On the Range, we've got a whole plethora in there. And then, oh, by the way, like any good podcast, you got your Patreon. So we got the OTR, the On the Range podcast Patreon crew. And then, again, getting like-minded people around the world, trying to get them 1% better every single day. So, easy to find. So warhogg.com, you'll see a little link for the podcast, or you can just search On the Range podcast on whatever platform you listen to. But really, go to the website, WarHogg, WARHOGG.com. You'll find the link for the podcast, and do us a favor, man. Help us beat the big tech algorithm. Follow, subscribe, leave us a comment. I don't care if it's just thumbs up emojis, right? And you laugh about that because we ask our viewers listening out there, hey, man, leave us something. And I heard somebody else saying, well, can't leave the old eggplant. Next thing you know, I had some dude, I forget his name he left on there. I got 3 eggplants as a comment. Dude, I'll take it, right? It just helps the algorithm. I don't care. Stick something on there. But that's the biggest thing is we need support, and it's all of us helping each other. And I think that's the key part that people forget is how do we all partner together, especially in this big tech controlled environment, just to help get the word out there. So
to see how to adjust.
You just got it right.
Yeah,
so, and here's the thing on that. Let me add a couple things. If you guys, for your viewers, listeners out there, especially for my guys that have lost canines, we got a couple powerful episodes on there that I really deep dive into losing Duco, because I've had a lot of guys go, hey man, when you lose, and let me talk from Duco's standpoint. When I lost Duke, that was part of my soul gone, right? Part of me, I'm not whole because he's gone. And guys reach out and go, well, what should I do? Dude, do whatever you want. My truck still has nose prints that I will not clean in there. I've had guys go, hey, should I pull up the bowl? Should I do? Dude, do whatever you think is right? You're not in any rush to do anything. It's so much like when I was doing the documentary, I took Duke's urn, which has actually has that picture right there on the front of it. Dude, he's right there when we're doing the documentary. Oh, his brother Marco is right next door because I got both of their remains, right? Do what's right for you. Why is his vest up here? That's how much this dog played a part. I'm alive because of him. So when it comes to these guys, and I don't care whether you're military or law enforcement, everyone's going to grieve different. But I've had numerous people say, hey, man, that episode really helped me out during a hard time. And I got it. It's emotional. You hear my emotions here. Dude, it's raw. It cuts. At the bottom line, it sucks, right? You lose your partner that you've been with for so long. The way I put it, dude, I lost part of my soul, and I won't get it again. I won't get whole till I see him again, right? And that's the key thing. Hey, we will see these guys again. And at the end of the day, I know that, hey, Duke lived, and he lived a great life, man. But for anyone out there kind of struggling or knows that, hey, they might lose their partner here sometime soon, lessons learned from losing Duco on the Range podcast, and just give it a listen. I've had a bunch of people say, hey, man, that's helped me out. So
type stuff.
Yeah, great question. So we've got a couple of series kind of on the docket that we want to, more additions we want to bring out. There's some we can get away with. Some we don't want to cross swords with the DoD trademark office with. So we're working doing a lot of fine art approaches to things, but we're absolutely going to be coming out with a first responder series. That's near and dear to us. We're also looking at maybe a bookend for D-Day to focus on maybe a Pacific Theater campaign that we can sort of highlight the Marine Corps and the Navy without talking about Marine Corps and Navy. There's a couple of things we're going to do with that, but I think there's several different opportunities moving forward, because we really want to build a whole stable portfolio of whiskeys that honor specific different groups that we can then raise money. Our goal is to raise $1 million per edition for the.
Oh wow!
We got big big goals on this thing. But I'll tell you why we think that's going to work is because we're sort of bypassing the distribution system. It's real tough to get into stores, especially as a small producer, that we don't have the kind of clout that like a Jim Beam or a Jack Daniels has. So what we're doing is bypassing that whole system. We have something called a one-tier system, and that's where we're able to run a very robust online e-commerce platform where folks can come to our website and order it, and we can ship directly legally to 45 states and the District of Columbia. This is a first. This doesn't exist really out there because we're working with a company that just figured out really how to get the licensing to ship alcohol to consumers across state lines across 45 states, and that's a very big deal because otherwise, in the past it wasn't allowed.
Oklahoma.
Is it Burt Reynolds by any chance? Is it in a semi truck?
Yeah, Oklahoma is one of those states that's super restrictive. Not as bad as like Utah and Arkansas, but we used to have a 3-tiered. I think we still do have a 3-tiered system, but it is ridiculous, and it serves no purpose other than revenue generation for each individual step in the process. So, so for those people, there are people that are listening to this that don't drink and they're like, oh, I don't want to buy whiskey to help. So how can I still help? And that is Rick, how can we help without having to buy whiskey? You should still buy it, but
buy
if you don't drink,
it, gift it
for various reasons.
Again, I've got,
that's one way to do it. Actually, you know what? Buy it for one of your friends that lives in one of the states that they can't ship to, and then mail it to them.
I don't know the legalities of that, but go pay him a trip, right? Like if you're going to visit your friend, hey man, don't want to get anyone in hot trouble, but hey man, if you sit there and go, let me go pay a visit, and you got some bottles, well, you can say it.
I don't work there,
but no, the biggest thing is, hey, if you can buy some of the whiskey, gift it if you're not a drinker. If you are, please do. And let me just add on the bottle, right? So understand this, when you buy one of these bottles, to me, you get a touch point. And again, that is Duco's paw print right there. I can't stress that enough. That is a physical touch point that they put both on the bottle and then on the tax stamp up there, So, and like sweet. With me, when I opened up my other bottle, I just didn't rip the top off because I don't know if that was going to pop off or not, right? So I took my knife and I kind of seared it off because, hey, man, I want his stuff, right? I mean, he's my touch point, and I know a lot of people know Duke's story, help, and thanks to, your show, other shows. But there was a lot of support when I lost Duke. But this is a way, number one, to keep his memory alive. And personally, like for me, I don't know that I'll ever get rid of a single bottle just because he's got his paw print. I just don't feel right pitching it in the trash, right? Because that brings up some raw memories, right? It's me thinking about, hey man, him getting his right rear leg amputated, and what they do is probably pitch it in the trash, right? So, but here nor there. But that's a way is, hey, buy a bottle, go to saluteseries.com, get a bottle that way. If you're within those, states you can ship to. If not, hey, go talk to a friend, go pay a visit, do whatever you got to do. But the other option is scotswish.org. You can donate that way. At the end of the day, if you forget all this stuff, hey, where do I go? These names all confuse me. WarHogg, WarHogg.com. You go to warhogg.com. We got more links to all our different stuff. Just navigate the site, and something will get you to where you can support the Honor Duco Project. See what we're doing. You can see the recipients on there. See what we're doing, and really, my hat's off to Drew and Heritage for entertaining the idea and then executing, and then taking the step further to really add the whole Duco piece on there to educate, the people out there as far as, hey, what these war dogs have done, especially Duco. So, Drew, from me to you, thank you, brother.
Pleasure. Absolutely. And that's, guys, that's really where the 5 states, by the way, we can't ship to: Hawaii and Alaska. Start there. South Dakota, which is interesting, Utah, and Michigan. Other than those 5, we can ship to any other state. So folks just go to saluteseries.com, can order it. We ship it out. We have a lot of robust interaction with our customers. Sometimes folks reach out to us. They'll send pictures. We got so many folks sharing stories. We got videos on our social media sites that 500,000 views in like the first weekend. I mean, folks they're really fired up about this, and it warms our heart because it means people are learning about the community that we want to support, which is the world you guys live in.
Like a publicly traded? What is it?
Great question. No, we're privately held. It was just, like I said, 2 couples that started this thing 12 years ago. We've got a bunch of shareholders now. We are looking to transition into the next phase, next iteration, hopefully the next couple months, but raise some capital and just take it big. But this Salute Series has really become the primary driver of our company, and that's really fantastic because the whole thing is a fundraising tool, right? To drive revenue to help support the organizations that are supporting our warriors, 2- and 4-legged, our veterans, their families. And it's just awesome. The whole project has breathed incredible life into our company to be able to do something where we're giving back so meaningfully.
It's honorable, and I really appreciate it.
And here's the thing, brother, right? I got to kind of put a couple things on there. Like I said, our main mission statement is the SOF K9. However, that doesn't mean we're not above helping others. We have actually vested up some officers as well under the In Honor Duco Project. We actually helped some, police canines with that. Understand our main focus is that SOF K9, right? That's our lineage. That's our heritage. That we want heritage. You like that, Drew? That we want to sit there. They want to sit there and honor. But we're not above. Hey, I'd rather get a call, and hey, if we can't help because we're not in the financial space, hey, let's get them the help they need. So feel free to, whether you are law enforcement, if you need to reach out, please reach out. The part I want to really drive home to your viewers, listeners, and this is going to get raw, is you have to understand, I'm talking to these guys at a time in their life that absolutely sucks because their partner's sick, there's something wrong. And you can hear the same crackling in my voice now. They've got crackling going on there, right? But when I sit there and go, hey, buddy, we got you. Don't worry about it. To listen to their voice change, to know that financial burden is off their back, that now versus them having to worry about, hey, what am I scrounging, pawning, selling, loaning, whatever they got to do to get these funds, dude, we got you covered, right? You can just, the emotional lift that gives. And unless you've been on one of these calls, you have no idea the power it has, because it all brings back, the situation I was in. Right. And it's raw and it sucks. But man, to sit there and go, here's Duke giving back, helping out other canines. Dude, I couldn't be happier. I wish he was still alive today. I really do. But at the end of the day, he is still serving. I just like to say, hey, I'm the vessel that's kind of helping him do that business. But man, guys, I just can't stress enough to the viewers listening out there. Hey, if you're going to donate, buy a bottle, do whatever, the relief these guys get when you go, hey man, we got you covered, so just think about that, when you're sitting there making that decision. Hey, am I buying, gifting, donating, doing whatever? It's absolutely huge. And the proof's in the pudding, because we put, the recipients up there so everyone can see, hey man, we're just not sitting there, sticking the cash in our sock drawer, right? Scott's Wish, who supports the In Honor Duco Project, we're all volunteer. Let me say that again, all volunteer. We don't get paid a nickel. Every dollar that's donated goes back to helping dogs. So I just think that's kind of key, that there's a lot of organizations out there that got some type of working costs, and I get it. But at the end of the day, all volunteer. So getting that money back to those handlers so that they can take care of their partners.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ted, what about you? Where are you going to be coming up?
So I'm going to Moundsville, West Virginia. I think probably by the time this uploads, we're going back to Moundsville to see if I can get possessed by something again. Not again, but Hagner got possessed by something last time we were there.
Yeah, that was called booze.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Sure. So we're going back to Moundsville to do the HRD thing up there. And I've got a couple more. We got one in Waxahachie, Texas coming up right after the first of the year. And then I'm going to Bulgaria that's not really anything related to anything. I mean, it's related to K9, but it's not anything that I'm there like training with, like out in public with people. But other than that, I'm closing out the year doing handler schools and a couple of HRDs and some kind of like local seminars and local stuff here in Oklahoma with some of the other. There's a visual tracking course in Arkansas that they asked me to come do some of the canine stuff with. But outside of that, I'm just hanging out and finishing out the rest of the year and taking a break between classes because the last class of the year is going to be a big one too. So weather will be better. But yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram, Ted_Summers, because now I have a blue check mark because I paid for it. Because I paid for it so that they don't delete my damn account again. And I don't even post anything bad. I mean, and nothing that's offensive that I post is anything that's original. I just share stuff. And I shared something today about people eating cats and whatever. So it's, you can find me, you can find Torchlight K9, Torchlight Pets, the letter K number 9, both on Instagram and Facebook, and then working_dog_radio. For the podcast, and then HRD Police K9, letter K number 9 on Facebook and Instagram too. We'll give you updates on where we're going to be and what we're doing. And then also Oil Capital K9 Fund is our 501 aimed at just Oklahoma K9 teams in terms of training and providing equipment and dogs for underfunded departments that are below a certain threshold of sworn deputies or officers. So yeah, what about you?
Van S K9 on Instagram. Just go there. Facebook's just everything from Instagram goes to Facebook. What do I got? Oh, I leave Sunday for Erie County, New York. I'm going to do a seminar over there.
Buffalo. Are you going to go to that building again?
No.
The train station?
No.
Where it's 1,000 just like standing inside of a Cold Stone Creamery? No.
Yeah, that was the worst. That was the worst ever.
Terrible. God, it was awful. Awesome building, but it was Buffalo, New York in November when it's cold. Not
the building was colder inside.
It was cold. It was like it was completely covered floor to ceiling in marble. It was like being in a stone cold creamery. I felt like ice cream. I now know how cold it has to be for Beats headphones to stop working. So there's that.
Yeah.
Also, when we were there, I was so excited to eat buffalo wings because it was the place where they're invented, and they were fucking terrible.
Terrible. It was. What a letdown.
I was so mad.
Yeah, so on the book front, we've talked about. I wrote a book. So it's today, Friday, tomorrow. It should be done, edited tomorrow. Then I got to get it published. I'm still on the fence. Do I go to a publisher? Or do I go self-publish through Amazon?
Go Amazon.
Amazon. If you price it between $250, I think, and $9.99, they take 35%. If it's below that or above it, they take like 75%, something like that. So I'm going to make it about a $9. It's a manual. It's a short manual, but it should be pretty good. It's basically my e-collar without conflict for working dogs seminar that I've been teaching all over the country. I'm at 840 dogs have come through now. That seminar, I just took the PowerPoint as an outline and wrote out as I was talking, no cuss words, but as I was, the way I teach a seminar, everything is in there. So if you've never been to the seminar or you have been and it's too much information,
you need the cuss words for full effect though.
No, that's the audio version. When I do the audio version, that's what that's going to be. So
Eric to reading to you. Fantastic. So, bedtime stories with Dr. Stambro.
So I'm going to get on Salute Series tonight, saluteseries.com, and get myself a bottle. And then if you guys remember, scottswish.org and saluteseries.com. Gentlemen, it was awesome having you guys on.
And
I really appreciate it.
One point I want to add, and Ted, this might help to you as well. So we've got Project Officer Survival, where we offer free law enforcement firearms training. If you've got some agencies out there, now granted, we're specifically focusing on the red dot pistol because we're seeing that swing around to be start to be the norm for law enforcement. But we've partnered up with between Walther Aimpoint, so Safariland to support. But I put that out there. So if you've got some agencies that are looking for that, we can work some things potentially in those areas. So just reach out to us and we'll try to coordinate. But it's just another tool because, again, we want to make sure these guys got more survivability out there on the street. So I just pass that, guys, to you and your workings. Let those guys in blue know because we got to sit there and make sure they are best trained they can because Lord knows the departments aren't doing it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And don't think, guys, that you're going to throw a red dot on there and train once a year and that thing not shake and move all over the damn place. Like, you got to get with people. You got to get with professionals. You got to invest your time. You've got to take that stuff seriously. So thanks, guys, again. Everybody check the show notes for all the discount codes and all the websites and everything else involved. And we'll talk to you later.
Guys. All right.
Tremendous honor, fellas. Thank you very much.